Hello and welcome to our first Tech Talk. It is going to be up on YouTube. My name is Anise. I am the Assistant Library Director at the Alberley Public Library. And today we are going to be talking all about Zoom 101. Zoom's been in the news a lot lately. It's kind of exploded. And so just wanted to give you some pointers about it and all that kind of good stuff. So what is Zoom? Zoom is a video conferencing software. If you've ever used FaceTime or another application on your phone or a tablet to video chat with someone, like someone in your family, a child, a grandchild, etc., Zoom is very similar. But it allows for more people to join in, and it's also a cross-platform. So if you're using an Apple product and someone else is using an Android or a Windows product, you don't have the same software to video chat, but you can use Zoom to do that. So it's used for video chats, like I mentioned. A lot of times it's used for meetings nowadays with a lot of people working at home. And then online lectures and webinars as well in some cases. And then there's also, Zoom is available as a software application for your computer, and also an app for mobile phones and tablets. You can also use Zoom in your browser, so you can join a meeting in your browser without downloading anything. Just have a little bit limited features, but all those apps are free to download. So that's the best way to use it, but again, you can use it in your browser and you'll still get a very similar experience. So how to use Zoom? Zoom meetings will have an ID and usually a meeting password. So a lot of times you'll get this in an email if you register for an event, or if someone sets up a meeting with you, you'll get an email or the information about the ID and the password. When you log into Zoom and you go to join a meeting, a lot of times you can join right from clicking the link in that email or the notice. Otherwise, you'll be asked for the meeting ID and then the password to join the meeting. It's recommended that if you're going to use the app on either a phone and a tablet or the software application downloaded from the computer, I recommend downloading it before the meeting starts, or plan to use Zoom in your browser. That'll work as well. But you know, if you can, ideally download it a day or two ahead of time to make sure it's all good to go. Otherwise, I would say 10 to 15 minutes before the meeting starts, just go in and join, and then the app will download, and that way you're all set up, ready to go when the meeting's going to start. And then when you first join a meeting, you're going to be asked if you wanted to access your camera, if you have a webcam on your computer or a smartphone with a camera. If applicable, some meetings you won't be able to join with your camera, and usually that's larger lectures where just one person is talking and they're asking for questions in the chat box. And then you're given a choice for your audio connection. So usually it's using audio through the computer. So if you have a microphone on your computer, which newer computers have, but you'll have an opportunity to test if you have an older computer to see if it'll work. You can use a headset, so you can plug in headphones or use a wireless headset connected to your computer for that. Or you can use a telephone, so they'll give you a number that you can call, and then you type in your meeting ID and your password, and you get your audio through your telephone rather than the computer, but the information is on the computer. So that's a good way as well if maybe you have an older device, or you know, there's other people in the room or something that you want to listen into a meeting, then you can dial in with your phone. So best practices on Zoom. I'll talk about in a minute waiting rooms, but a lot of meetings have waiting rooms, and so it's recommended that you use either your first name, at least your true first name, or your initials in the meeting. If you have some privacy concerns, it's totally understandable, and you could use a different name, but you'll want to let the host know that that's the name you're using, so that if they're using a waiting room, they can admit you into the meeting. It also just helps with identification as well. So you'll definitely want to mute yourself when you're not talking. So especially if you're using computer audio, the computer microphone picks up sounds all around you. So if you have, someone in your house doing something in the background, or your pet starts, barking or meowing, if you're not muted, everyone can hear those sounds while someone else is talking. So it's a really good idea to mute yourself when you're not talking. A lot of times you'll enter a meeting and automatically be muted, but that's the first thing you should look for when you join a meeting, is to mute yourself, and then only unmute yourself. Usually the button appears in the bottom left-hand corner. Only unmute yourself when you have something to say. In smaller meetings, this isn't as big of a deal. Let's say a family Zoom meeting of about 5 people, you might not need to mute yourself, but if you're in a more professional setting, then definitely you'll want to mute yourself. If you're using your video, it's nice to keep your background clean and just kind of like away from any windows. So if you have a lot of stuff in the background, a lot of times it can be a distraction in a professional meeting. Again, if it's just a family meeting, informal thing, it's probably fine. Usually those people have been to your house, so they don't care. But if it's a professional meeting, it's good to keep your background clean. And then if you have a window directly behind you or on the side of you, it can distort the light on your image. So a lot of times you'll appear really dark. And so either pull curtains if you have curtains on the window, or, angle yourself so you're away from that. And when you join a Zoom meeting, you get a little thumbnail that shows what people are seeing. And then Zoom has a chat feature. So in addition to the audio, it also is a little chat box so it's recommended if you have a quick question or you want to say something. Let's say you're in a meeting of 20 people and you have something really important to say. It's nice that, if you can't get a word in, there's not a natural pause, you can just type in the chat feature, and then usually someone will say, okay, now why don't you talk? A lot of times on bigger Zoom meetings, the chat feature is used more. Let's say, a few people are talking and then people have ideas off of what they're talking. A lot of people use the chat feature. So it's nice to have the chat feature up and be able to look at what's going on in the chat. If you're hosting a meeting, it's recommended that you keep an eye on the chat, or someone keeps an eye on the chat for you so you don't miss anything. Sometimes chats are very active and it can be hard to keep up with everything, but it's a good option if you want to just chime in on something that people are talking about in the chat rather than talking in the meeting. And then just lastly, I want to touch on security. So Zoom has been in the news a lot lately, not just for its explosion because of people working from home, but also because of what they've been termed Zoom bombing, which is essentially when someone with ill intentions comes into a Zoom meeting and shares in the chat, or will share their screen if hosts have not turned that off for participants, to just say inappropriate things or offensive things that some people may not want. So a lot of organizations have taken some security steps, and Zoom has recommended a lot of things. There's a lot of best practices. So all our programs, except for these live tech talks that we scheduled so far, are going to happen on Zoom. And so these are the security features that are recommended by a lot of people to avoid that, and what we are taking into account. So only registered attendees have access to meeting information. So now, whereas before maybe Zoom information about a meeting was posted publicly online so anyone could join, especially in a huge meeting, now usually it'll be emailed to you. So you probably have to register for an event, and then you'll get an email with the meeting ID and password, or you'll have to contact the host and get the meeting ID, especially if it's just a family meeting. Someone will let you know that. So using waiting rooms, like I mentioned before, Zoom has a feature so the host will start the meeting, and anyone that asks to join the meeting is admitted to what they call a waiting room, and the host has to admit them in. So that eliminates anyone getting in who is unwanted. And so this is where using your first name is really important, because if the host doesn't know who you are, they're not going to let you in, because you could have ill intentions if they don't know who you are trying to join the meeting. So using waiting rooms. So so if you join a Zoom meeting, you may be in a waiting room for a little bit, but then you'll be in. And then Zoom has an option for screen sharing, so it's great for presentations, PowerPoints, online trivia, that kind of thing. So participants can have the ability to share screens, but if there's no need, hosts will turn that off. And so for our programs, we'll turn it off. It's also for your protection too, just in case you're fiddling around with the mute button, the audio, and you accidentally hit the share screen and all of a sudden everyone can see what you have open on your computer. And so there could be some private information. So it's just good practice. If there's no need for participants to share their screens, then people will just turn it off, and therefore you can't accidentally do it. So that is kind of all I have on Zoom 101, just a quick little short tech talk here. If you have any ideas for future tech talks, again, they're going to be about 10 to 15 minutes, so keep that in mind. Let us know. We want to know. Our contact information is on the screen here. We have a new phone number for you, so you can either call or text our toll-free number there. We answer between Monday and through Friday, 9 to 5, but you can leave a message or text anytime and we'll respond to you or get your message when we're answering the phone. Our general library email is up on the screen, so you can email us as well. That is monitored daily, Monday through Friday, and then you can also contact us on Facebook. And this goes for any other library-related questions. Just contact us one of these ways and let us know. And then I'm just going to put up on the screen here some of our additional virtual programs for you. Depending on when you're watching this, some of them may have passed, but we've got these tech talks going on. We've got Craft and Connect. The dates are on the top there, so set up your computer, phone, tablet near a craft, so handcraft, knit and crochet, hand sewing, embroidery, cross stitch, paper craft, scrapbooking. You could set up your computer in front of your sewing machine and just we're going to all work on our crafts together and kind of chat, check in with people in our community. So it's a good way to connect with people in the community. We're going to have a bingo event, and then an open book discussion. So just bring the latest book you read or the latest good book you read, a favorite book, something like that. Come ready to talk about at least one book, and other people will do the same, and therefore we'll kind of share ideas about what we've been reading lately, what we might want to read, that kind of stuff. So details and registration information can be found on our website, or you can get in touch with us and we can provide you some more information. So again, this is our first tech talk, and from the Albert Lea Public Library. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to bringing you more.